Thank you so much for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Ephraim Graham. Ahead today, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu saying his country is becoming a center of power in the Middle East after helping to bring down the Assad regime in Syria. Netanyahu also with a warning for Israel's enemies, including Iran. And with Israel on the rise, Iran is facing difficult times as it loses power and influence in the region. In this Christmas season, people are turning to technology to help them find God. And a growing part of all that is artificial intelligence. And despite difficult times in the world, the gospel is still being preached throughout the earth. We're going to bring you one of the latest examples from Vietnam. All those stories and more today on CBN NewsWatch.
This is CBN NewsWatch.
We begin this Tuesday in the Middle East, where Israel is on the rise, growing in power in the region as the Jewish state looks to protect itself from Syria. And while the Syrian government has fallen, Islamic forces may keep fighting among themselves. CBN's Wendy Griffith has this story.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu highlighted Israel's role in the fall of the Assad regime after the, quote, heavy blows its forces have inflicted on Hamas, Hezbollah, and Iran. He also said Israel is dismantling the Iranian axis piece by piece and changing the landscape of the Middle East.
The state of Israel is establishing its position as the center of power in our region, as it has not been for decades. Those who cooperate with us benefit greatly. Whoever attacks us loses big.
While Syrians are celebrating, thousands are going to a notorious prison north of Damascus, searching for loved ones taken by the regime. On the border with Turkey, those who fled the 14-year civil war are beginning to return home.
I came here 6 years ago and have been working, but now that Assad is gone, I decided to go back immediately. My family is there, we'll see them, meet them. We're very happy Assad is gone. There's no more torture, God willing, Syria will be better.
In the midst of celebration, there are concerns for the future. The new leader is a former al-Qaeda chief, and the U.S. has a $10 million bounty on his head. Bill Roggio, senior fellow at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, told CBN's Faith Nation he believes there will be infighting between the rebel factions.
I don't think the war in Syria is over. I just think the Assad chapter in this war has ended.
Meanwhile, Israel is offering peace to the Syrian people, but taking precautions with airstrikes against the old regime's weapons supplies and occupying a buffer zone on the Golan Heights to protect the border.
Our control of the Golan Heights guarantees our security. It guarantees our sovereignty.
In the middle of this multi-front war, the Prime Minister will be spending several days a week this month in a courtroom, testifying in a long-running case of fraud and corruption charges against him. Charges, he says, are politically motivated.
For 8 years, I've been waiting to reveal the method of a brutal hunting expedition because these investigations were born in sin. There was no offense, so they were looking for an offense. They haven't found an offense, so they invented an offense.
Wendy Griffith, CBN News.
And our CBN News Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell joins us now from Jerusalem with more. So, Chris, we're going to talk about Prime Minister Netanyahu's trial in a moment. But first, let's talk about Netanyahu saying Israel is dismantling Iran's power piece by piece. How catastrophic has everything that's been happening in the Middle East been for Iran?
Well, Ephraim, catastrophic is a great word to describe what's been happening for Iran. Actually, you can go back to October 7th. That was, quote unquote, the victory for Hamas at that time. But since then, all of the key parts of Iran's regional strategy have been dismantled. That includes Hamas, which is no longer anything what it used to be. Same thing for Hezbollah, and that happened in just the last few months. And now in the last couple of weeks, Syria, the key part of their regional strategy, is no longer part of their regional strategy. The Assad regime doesn't exist anymore. They use Syria as a land bridge between Iran and Lebanon to be able to smuggle weapons, strategic weapons, to Hezbollah. That's how they built their arsenal of maybe almost 200,000 rockets, missiles, and mortars. And now that's gone. So this so-called ring of fire that Iran had established around Israel to be able to destroy the Jewish state has really been dismantled. So catastrophic is the right word to use about what happened to Iran in the last 14 months.
What about Iran's nuclear program? Is that still a serious threat?
It really is, and some people think because of all the damage to Iran's Middle East strategy that perhaps this may be a time when they feel it's important for them to sprint to a nuclear weapon, perhaps before President Trump takes office on January 20th. In addition to that, we know that the IAEA is warning about increased uranium enrichment. So this is a very dangerous time. We talked to Middle East expert Joel Rosenberg about this not too long ago, and he thinks this time from here to the inauguration is a very dangerous time, particularly for Iran and its nuclear program.
Israel has also carried out a massive bombing campaign on Syria's military infrastructure. What can you tell us about that?
Well, you can tell that Benjamin Netanyahu and the IDF and the military and political echelon really knew what they were doing. They put out a olive branch to the new leaders inside Syria, but they have no illusions about who they are. Just in the last couple of days, some people estimate that 88% of Syria's army has been destroyed, so that it doesn't fall into the hands of these new leaders of Syria. As he said, our guest expert said they may be fighting each other, but Israel's doing what it can to make important strategic steps. One of those is the Golan Heights, as it was mentioned in the report. Also, Mount Hermon, the part of Syria's Mount Hermon, they took that over. And now IDF troops and tanks are about 12 kilometers or maybe about 7 or 8 miles from Damascus as well. So really, they're being proactive so that they can defend the Jewish state.
There is a new report about the SNA, basically Turkey's ground forces. What does this report say, and why is it important?
You know, that just came out I got that maybe about an hour ago, and just horrific reports of murders, rapes, kidnapping, implementing Sharia law, in particular targeting the Kurdish people and trying to destroy them. In addition, the Christians in the region are at great risk. So this is very important that people are praying for the people, the ethnic groups there, particularly Christians and Kurds and Yazidis, that really are going to be the target of many of these groups. And also, there's a very important to know that there is part of Syria in the northeast, and we've reported on that several years ago, that really is a democratic part of Syria, and that is being targeted by Turkey and its forces. So that's very, very important. In fact, I just got a tweet from Nadine Mayenza, who monitors this, and is saying that really nations need to speak up and stop Turkey from what they're doing right now.
What are you looking for in Netanyahu's trial? How is the outcome expected to be?
Well, he obviously thinks there's nothing to this, and many other people here in Israel think the timing is just horrendous. Israel is in the middle of fighting, a war of its survival, trying to take advantage of these geopolitical shifts going on in the region, and now the Prime Minister, who's really the head of the political echelon and managing the war itself, and has been for about 14 months, he's going to be tied up in a trial. So the timing seems horrendous, and other people think, it will vindicate Netanyahu, that is, in the long run, but it's a very, very difficult time to be managing a trial and also managing a historic war in the Middle East.
Keeps getting busier and busier. What can we expect this evening on Jerusalem Dateline?
Well, on Jerusalem Dateline, we're going to have an update on Syria. We're going to have an interview with Jonathan Conricus. He's a former IDF chief spokesman, and he has a wonderful analysis of what's going on, as well as analysis with Paul Strand and John Waggy. And finally, we're going to have a story on Israel Christmas, focusing on two businesses that are trying to bring good cheer here in the time of a very difficult time in the Middle East.
Look forward to all of that. Our CBN News Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell, thank you so much for your insight. You can see the latest Jerusalem Dateline this evening at 8 p.m. Eastern. You can find it on the CBN News channel. You can also watch it on the CBN News app, or you can tune in on YouTube. Coming up, how many people are turning to technology to help them find God during this Christmas season? And artificial intelligence increasingly is part of it all. We're going to bring you a look when we come back.
Introducing a brand new way to start your morning, the CBN News Quick Start Podcast. Each weekday morning at 7 a.m., get quick highlights of the day's important news. Then an in-depth analysis that goes beyond the headlines. Insights that matter to people of faith. Discover how God is moving around the world and here at home. Find the CBN News Quick Start Podcast on iTunes or wherever you enjoy listening to podcasts, because truth matters.
It is Christmas season and many people are trying to draw closer to God. An increasing number are turning to technology for help. While social media apps can be helpful tools, other forms of tech, especially artificial intelligence, present challenges. CBN Charlene Aaron explains.
The popular Hallow Prayer app recently launched a campaign to help people connect with God during the Christmas season. It's another example of how today's tech can quickly spread the gospel to more people than ever before. Some warn, however, that's why guardrails need to be in place before fully embracing all forms of technology. People in more than 150 countries are using their cell phones to help their prayer life through Hallow, the world's leading prayer app. CEO and co-founder Alex Jones tells CBN News he developed it after rediscovering his faith.
I started discovering this whole world of contemplative and meditative prayer within the church and within Christianity, and it just changed my life. It brought me back to my faith. It's the most important part of who I am, and so we built the first version of the app really just for me to try to keep growing in this practice of daily prayer.
That's why they recently launched the Advent Pray 25 Challenge to encourage people to pray and meditate on Scripture leading up to Christmas. Jonathan Rumi, who portrays Jesus in The Chosen, leads the campaign.
I use the app every day myself. So, it really is one of the greatest gifts in the modern age to be able to have this and to have, thousands and thousands, 10,000 prayers on the app. All of these are individual ways that a person can connect to Jesus, to God in a way that they maybe hadn't considered before.
This tech connection can also be seen in the pulpit. According to the faith-based technology platform Glue, almost 20% of church leaders say they use artificial intelligence on a daily or weekly basis. Close to a third of those leaders range from being positive to excited about the result. While much debate surrounds this specific tech, Andre Echevarria of Digital Strategies at Cru, formerly Campus Crusade for Christ, contends Christians can use it for good.
I would say that rather than debating that part, I would say, can we redeem it for the glory of God? And that's actually what we're doing here. We're using a lot of that technology to be able to actually help people discover a relationship with Jesus.
He believes it's a matter of how AI is used.
If you think about it as an advanced intern, an intern, you obviously wouldn't let them run your radio show, Billy, right? You'd have them, but maybe do some research and maybe bring up some topics, ideas, and some things that you can then fine tune.
Recently in Rome, a Catholic chapel used a computerized avatar of Jesus to answer questions from visitors on issues of faith and morality.
AI Jesus existed for 2 months, and there was a big interest, so many people came to talk with him. So we have like 900 conversations now registered, and all ages also, I can say. There were young people, older people, and what was really interesting to see that the people really talked with him in a serious way.
Schmidt says their intent was to recognize the growing importance of artificial intelligence in human lives, even when it comes to religion. Meanwhile, Echevarria reminds us no tech could ever do what a human filled with the Spirit of God can do.
AI doesn't have a story. We have a story. And that story God continues to write.
Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
Still ahead, a leap of faith for Gold Star families. We're going to show you how they are celebrating their fallen heroes, thousands of feet in the air. That story's coming up right after this. You're watching CBN NewsWatch. Gold Star families who have lost loved ones in the military struggle with feelings of grief long after their loss. One unique program is helping them to find hope, connection, and healing by taking a literal leap of faith. Brody Carter brings us that story from the skies above North Carolina.
I'm here to celebrate my son. 12 years ago, he died by suicide. I really want to do this. I'm a little scared, but I feel that hopefully I'll be able to release a lot of things that I've been holding to.
For Gold Star families like Shelton Thornton from Louisiana, the pain of losing a child, parent, or a loved one who served our country can seem like an ever-present anchor dragging them down.
Any questions, any thoughts?
My son's right here with me.
That's right.
First Lieutenant David Wright.
You're going to take David flying with us today?
Yeah.
Operation Support Our Troops America, working with the help of the all-veteran group parachute team, taking skydivers 14,000 feet into the sky to help them find strength and courage to take the next step forward.
5,000 feet off the ground, there's a very different view of North Carolina. Now, today is not about the acceleration of a free fall, but today we are celebrating the Gold Star families who've lost loved ones, who are celebrating their heroes. And it's an opportunity to find hope, healing, and a new perspective on life.
Yes, my dad was in the Army, and in ROTC, he did everything that they allowed him to do except for jump out of the plane, so I'm doing this because he couldn't.
We get the incredible opportunity of providing moments of healing for these people. You know, the biggest thing is we've all been through dark periods of our life. God's not done with us. So I get the chance to be part of something so much bigger than life, that we get to be part of helping others heal from certain darkness and difficulties.
Families from as far as California come here to Rayford, North Carolina, in hope of moving forward.
I would say the easiest way to talk about it is that grief is something that you use. You're not possessed by it. We're trying to help set them free from the psychological traps that happen because of emotions like grief that feel like they've taken over our lives, but they really haven't.
Clinical psychologist Dr. Doug McKinley has partnered with Operation Support Our Troops America from the beginning, and he sees the leap of faith as transformational.
It was absolutely amazing. First day of the rest of my life.
Well, it doesn't help with the grief. It actually excites everything, but when we tie it to the message that we're trying to say to get them to let go of their fears, the metaphor is that you can literally physically let go and also psychologically let go.
Thank you for taking good care of us.
Absolutely.
It was amazing grace.
Deb Rickert started Operation Support Our Troops in 2003 by putting together care packages in her garage. When some of those soldiers didn't return home, she created the Leap of Faith event to support those families.
Having two sons that deployed repeatedly and did come home, you know, we feel, my husband and I feel like we have a debt of gratitude that we have to repay. Our hope with the 3 days that we have with these people is that this is going to change their life. This is going to kind of make them live intentionally, even though this horrible journey has been put upon them.
In addition to free falls, the 3-day retreat offers families help through seminars, professional counseling, and spending time in nature.
You don't like to sing now.
Such as equine therapy at Southern Eighths Farm in Chesterfield, South Carolina.
Spencer, when he was little, he wrote lots of sayings, and one of the things he wrote was, "Who says you cannot touch the stars?" I just feel that I got a little closer to God by being up there.
Bart and Alexia Collar lost their 21-year-old son Spencer last year in an Osprey crash. He initially survived and went back in an attempt to save the trapped pilots. While he partially unbuckled their restraints, all three tragically lost their lives.
Out of horrible loss, it continues to bear fruit, and we're convinced that Spencer and Evan are just up in heaven, dangling their strings down, just laughing at us, you know, making things happen, because it has not been dull ever since that crash for us.
Those who've experienced this grief understand it's a web that binds them, not just to the past, but to one another. Through shared stories and pain, Gold Star families can transform loss into love and find that even the heaviest burdens can be carried together. Their stories remind us that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's facing it, one leap, one step at a time.
Pay it forward. If you see a soldier, walk up to them, shake their hand, thank you for your service.
If you see a person that's non-military, or whether they are or not, say hey to them, because you never know what that person is going through that day. And you could change their lives.
It was absolutely amazing. It was epic. Thank you for that opportunity. My gosh. Thank you. Reporting in Rayford, North Carolina, Brody Carter, CBN News.
Coming up, the good news of the gospel being proclaimed throughout the world. And we're going to bring you another example from Franklin Graham when we come back. You're watching CBN NewsWatch.
Download the CBN News app. One place for all of your news. Breaking news alerts. Watch CBN News Channel Live. CBN News, because truth matters. Get the CBN News app today.
More than 24,000 people filled a stadium in Vietnam last week to seek Jesus during the Season of Love festival with evangelist Frank Graham. It was a major turnout of people hungry to hear the gospel of Jesus Christ. More than 315 churches and pastors came together to plan and pray for the two-day outreach. And as a result, 14,000 people took part on the first night, and 10,000 stood in the pouring rain on the second night to hear powerful messages on salvation. Altogether, more than 1,200 made decisions to accept Christ as their Savior. Time now for your Tuesday Tweetable. I pray this message will bless you and you will post tag tweet and share it with those in your circles of influence. God's word is true. You must choose to believe it. And when you do, you will see its power. With that word, make this a terrific Tuesday and be sure to have yourself a wonderful rest of the week. Well, that will do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. You can always find more of our programs on the CBN News channel at any time. You can also find them online at cbnnews.com. Take a moment. Let us know what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can email us, newswatch@cbn.com. And, of course, you can reach out and touch us on Facebook, Instagram, and X, formerly known as Twitter. We'll see you back here tomorrow.